I'm going to beat you into the living death.
Welcome back to Yelling About Mixed Martial Arts, the show where I yell about mixed martial arts. It was with a heavy heart that myself and the homies witnessed one of the most dominant champions of our generation and all-time legend of the sport, Alexander Volkanovski, get brutally knocked out in his own weight class last Saturday after getting brutally knocked out in someone else's weight class a couple of Saturdays earlier. UFC 298's main event knockout by Ilia Topuria in the second round may have happened in a matter of seconds, but it felt like slow motion as Volk hit the ground, Ilia staring down at him through the tiger on his chest. Yes, get ready to be peeked at through that tiger for a while now, because there's a new matador in town, and he just took down one of the greatest bulls to ever get on his bullshit. Now at 35 years old and 0-2 in his last two fights, both defeats via knockout, it's going to be interesting to see what transpires in the career of old man Volk, who may now have plenty more time for a plethora of new hobbies, including napping, assuming he's woken up from last Saturday by now. The hyper-confident Ilia Topuria, who had a documentary commissioned about his journey to becoming champion prior to winning the belt, makes good on his promise to bring gold home to Spain for the first time, while also pulling off the most elaborate long-form Conor McGregor cosplay that the world has ever known. While Father Time might have come a-knockin' for Volkanovski, the same could not be said for Robert Whittaker, another one of the chillest dudes in the sport, who has been living at the number 3 middleweight position so long, he's considering having the floors redone.
And especially for you, Mr.
Jared Cannonier.
From my cold, dead hands.
Ian Gary and Jeff Neal finally had their day in the cage, putting on a bedtime story of a snoozer that ended in Gary winning, and then calling out Colby Covington to see who could beat the other by sheer power of cringe and delusion alone. That is, of course, a number one contender fight, as the cringe and delusion world champion is currently Michael Chandler, who went on the WWE Monday night to once again beg Conor McGregor to give him the red panty night that he is so desperately seeking. Apparently Chandler also has some kind of contract signed with the WWE as well, so that title isn't leaving his hands anytime soon.
And I still got one dude on my mind! Conor McGregor!
Shut up. Also on the 298 card, we saw Merab Dvalishvili retire Henry Cejudo once and for all, which is really a shame, as now Henry will have more time to make YouTube videos, which is a giant L for anyone who happens to click on them. On the prelims, Jiang Min Yang got a clean knockout, Junior Tafa filled in for his brother Justin on less than 24 hours notice and paid the price for it, and Mackenzie Dern lost to Amanda Lemos, which is fine, considering that any time she fights, pictures of her ass circulate MMA social media, and those always make me happy, even when her performances do the exact opposite. As a fan, the passing of Alexander Volkanovski's time as dominant, active reigning champion of his division is a hard pill to swallow, but to me, it's representative of a broader shift we're experiencing in MMA at the current time. A generational transition from one era into the next. With Israel Adesanya suffering a similar fate recently, the retirement of Amanda Nunes, and before that, the end of Kamaru Usman's run as champ, I'd say we're in the midst of a relatively significant changeover at the moment. And while the champions of the past may be ending their time on top, perhaps we're seeing the next wave of dominant champions taking form. This person has 2 solid defenses under his belt, this person doesn't show any signs of slowing down, and this person is making all kinds of history before our very eyes. And who could forget this person? She's got a belt now too. See, everything's going to be okay. As always, MMA is like the iceberg that sunk the Titanic. From fight to fight, event to event, it moves slowly, but when change hits, everything becomes different in what feels like the blink of an eye. For yelling about mixed martial arts, this is Thinker St. James reminding you that if you care this much about MMA, you too are probably wrestling with some complex emotions at the moment. Also in the news, the main event for UFC 300 has been announced as Alex Pereira versus Jamal Hill for the light heavyweight strap. Some fans were underwhelmed by this announcement, leading Jamal to vent his frustrations via his YouTube channel.
Y'all could have got Mario versus King Kong. Y'all could have got Wolverine versus Iron Man. You could have gotten anything. Hulk versus Superman. Spider-Man versus Batman. You could have got any of this, and it wouldn't have been happy.
I have to disagree with Mr. Hill's assessment here, not because I don't want to see him fight Pereira, but because objectively, Superman versus the Hulk headlining UFC 300 would have been really fucking sweet.